CBS News Miami.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. I'm Naja Sherman, and welcome to CBS News Miami's 4 p.m. Quickcast. We begin with breaking news. The fire emergency continues to build as the South Miami-Dade brush fire continues to grow. It has now grown to 24,000 acres. Forest officials telling us it is only 30% contained. Both US 1 and Card Sound Road are closed, blocking travel to the Keys in both directions. CBS News Miami's Morgan Reiner reports from the scene.
Fire and water trucks raced into the fire zone Thursday morning near the 18-mile stretch of the overseas highway.
Look at the flames shooting up right there. Holy.
Angel Velasquez lives in Key West and took this video on his way out this morning.
Traffic is backed up really bad going into Key West, and it's probably going to be backed up like that for most of the day.
He said he doesn't often see this, a brush fire lining US 1.
It was a shocker to me. It's not something that you expect at all.
A mobile command center set up in Florida City just a block north of Card Sound Road, one of the 2 roads leading in and out of the Keys that's been shut down for 3 days in a row now. The other road, US 1, also shut down again in both directions Thursday morning.
It's a mess. I was out by palm trees, and we were out on the farms over by the fires. One of the farms actually had a fire break out there.
Chopper 4 captured the flames from above Thursday morning, showing the long line of flames. CBS News Miami rode along with the Florida Forest Service as crews battled the flames on Wednesday. They explained the swampy conditions are making it more difficult to put out the flames. And then there are the downed power lines.
Mother Nature says, I gotta burn.
And from Morgan Reiner to next with our chief meteorologist Ivan Cabrera, keeping a track on the very latest developments.
Absolutely, and you can see on the weather cameras there, it's hard to tell, but we have smoke essentially hovering over downtown Miami right now. Now, the good thing is that the winds are keeping the smoke up above, and so the air quality really hasn't significantly changed over the last several hours. And here's another shot of it here. You see right up above the horizon there, all of that is just kind of smoke. It's difficult to see, but as we cool down and as the winds come down a little bit tonight, we could have a situation where it could come down to the surface and lower the air quality. So that's something we're going to be monitoring. Boy, it's been so interesting, right? Depending on where the wind blows, that's where the smoke has gone here. So we're looking at current next weather radar picking up on that plume, which died down last night because the winds went calm on us. But now we have a gusty southwest wind, and that is the smoke that I just showed you basically over Key Biscayne and over portions of downtown Miami. That's why we're seeing it as it continues to push the smoke to the north and east. That is the winds. You can see the wind speeds right now. 15, 20 miles an hour. We've been seeing gusts up to 25. So that red flag warning continues through 8 o'clock tonight. As far as the relative humidity, that's also something important, right? We're dipping into the 20s. We've been doing that throughout the day today. So that's an issue for firefighting efforts. They are now working with wind, with low humidity, and those are 2 factors that are not going to bode well for really just more containment here. As we continue to see on Smoke Tracker, there is the southwest wind. We have a major wind shift as we head into later this afternoon and evening because a cold front's going to come through. Watch what happens as the smoke continues to blow from the southwest to the west, and then as the front comes in, all of a sudden now you're going to get that to the south and east. So changing wind directions, changing wind speeds, that's going to be a factor with conditions down there, and also whether the smoke has a chance to really impact our air quality, which right now is moderate, so not a huge deal. Speaking of wind change, for tomorrow we get an east wind, which that would blow everything over towards Homestead, Florida City. So again, so long as this fire continues to burn, we are going to have smoke issues. Each day, it's going to be blowing in different directions because of the wind. So that's what we're going to have to stay on top of. As far as the temperatures today, very hot, right? Mid 80s, but it's a low humidity temperature here as far as a dry heat. There comes the front as we head through tonight. We'll be looking at temperatures dipping into the upper 50s to lower 60s. So that's the next weather story here by the frontal boundary as we continue with some chilly temperatures for both Friday and heading into Saturday. And then we'll begin to warm things up as we head into next week with overnight lows back into the 70s. Where is the rainfall? We need some rain. I think by the early part of the week, that's our best chance to see it. Coverage around 20 to 30%, but it's not going to be a huge deal. There's the front that continues to push south and east. Humidity beginning to increase as well, so that's going to be good if the fire's still going through the early part of next week. We're in the thousands and thousands of acres now, so it's going to be difficult to get that under control with all this wind. There are the numbers for tonight. Very chilly start for this time of year. Mid and upper 50s. We'll be back to the 70s for tomorrow for daytime highs, and I'll leave you with a 7-day forecast with temperatures in the upper 70s. The weekend plans haven't changed, and there is the bump up in temperature, and our best shot at seeing some rainfall here, which we desperately need, would be Wednesday, but that's only 30% with highs in the low 80s. Naja.
Ivan, thank you. And stay with CBS News Miami for continuing coverage. Coming up at 5, a look at the air quality and health dangers from all of this smoke. A show and tell by the Coast Guard today in what officials called an unprecedented seizure. Crews offloaded more than $500 million worth of illegal drugs. That is 45,000 pounds of illegal drugs, mostly cocaine, at Port Everglades. The drugs were valued at more than $500 million. CBS News Miami's Joan Murray spoke to one Coast Guard officer about what it's like to be on one of these big busts. And now to a disturbing double murder-suicide in Pompano Beach. Police discovered the bodies of 3 people in their home. Neighbors tell us a couple and their son lived in the home where this happened. Police identify the suspect as 80-year-old James Sheridan and say there is not a threat to the community. We're going to hear more from neighbors tonight at 5. Now to the first 100 days of the Trump presidency. The White House is moving forward today with an executive order. It is aimed at dismantling the Department of Education. But as CBS News Miami's Natalie Brand reports, teachers are already vowing to fight this in court.
After weeks of talking about it,
we want education to be moved back where the states run education.
President Trump is expected to sign an executive order this afternoon aimed at dismantling the Department of Education, a longtime goal of conservatives.
We have spent more than $3 trillion at this federal bureaucracy. What has been the return on that investment for the American taxpayer? Levels that are less than ideal, less than proficient.
Eliminating the department would require congressional approval, and an administration official tells CBS News the order does not change federal student loans or Title I assistance for students from low-income families.
Protect our students. Protect our families.
Teachers groups rallied Wednesday ahead of the executive order signing. Its estimated federal funding makes up just 10 to 14% of K-12 education, but critics of the Trump policy still worry about the potential impacts to the most vulnerable children.
I think too often at the state and federal level, when we're passing legislation, we don't really know the true impact of that legislation because we're not asking the teachers and educators in the trenches how that will impact them.
Meanwhile, a federal judge has given the Trump administration a new deadline of this afternoon to provide more details about deportation flights to El Salvador this weekend. Families of some of the men dispute they are members of a Venezuelan gang. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Our news partners at the Miami Herald report that the U.S. State Department has reinstated a few contracts funding independent Cuban news outlets. The State Department notified Cubanet, that is the oldest independent Cuban news outlet based in Miami. A government effort to provide uncensored information from offices in Miami stopped broadcasting for the first time in 40 years on Monday. When we come back, how to get relief from spring allergies. Welcome back to the 4 p.m. Quickcast. The Israeli military expanded its ground offensive in Gaza today. At least 80 Palestinians were killed in a new wave of strikes. Israel's military said it was launching a targeted ground operation against Hamas. Hamas fired its first rockets at Tel Aviv since Israel broke that ceasefire. The young man who was last seen with that missing spring breaker in the Dominican Republic is back home in the United States today. Joshua Ribby was never a suspect in her disappearance, but investigators confiscated his passport while they questioned him. The 22-year-old from Iowa told detectives they went to the beach after drinking with friends. He says at one point they struggled in the rough waves. He says they both got out and he last saw her walking in knee-deep water before he passed out on the sand. Sadiksha Kanaki, her parents believe their daughter drowned. They have asked officials to declare her dead so they can move on legally and emotionally. Now to a consumer alert. This one impacts Tesla owners. Elon Musk is recalling thousands of Cybertrucks. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the exterior trim panel can detach and fall off the truck and cause a potential road hazard. The recall is for the Cybertrucks built between November 2023 and last month. Owners can have the rail assembly repaired at no cost. And now to a health watch. Today is the first day of spring, and in many parts of the country, people with allergies are already suffering. CBS News Miami's Karen Hua has more from Houston on how to get some relief.
In the Houston area, spring is budding, and Wendy Wales is suffering.
Allergies kind of hit like about this time every year because there's a lot of stuff blooming. I've got like a cold cough right now from it, and it just lingers.
Her daughter Twyla also has seasonal allergies.
My symptoms are kind of like congestion, coughing, like headaches.
A report from Climate Central finds warming trends in 172 cities around the country are giving plants more time to grow and release pollen. And for the 80 million Americans who suffer from seasonal allergies, that means longer allergy seasons.
Year after year, we are seeing higher and higher pollen levels.
Allergists say leave the pollen at the door. When you get home, change your outfit because pollen and other allergens like to stick to your clothes and shoes.
You take your shoes off, you wash your face, you wash your eyes. Keeping your doors and windows closed to keep that pollen out and not let it in can make a huge difference. HEPA filters can catch whatever little pollen comes in those instances.
Anything you do to prepare for allergy season, or?
Take your meds.
Allergist immunologist Dr. Pratyusha Savjani says it's best to start your allergy medications before the season begins. Other treatments are also available.
I'm sure people have heard of allergy shots. You have to get shots regularly in an allergist's office. They teach your immune system how to not be allergic to that substance.
If you're struggling, she recommends seeing an allergist so you can develop a treatment plan and get some much needed relief. Karen Hua, CBS News, Houston.
And that's your CBS News Miami 4 p.m. Quickcast. I'm Naja Sherman. Stay tuned for more news right here on CBS News Miami, and have a great day.